Welcome to Google Weekly.
Welcome, my name is Bjorn Berendt, and this is the Google Weekly Podcast, which is part of the AskBG.net network of EdTech services. Never stop learning. This is episode 22, Backup and Archive Google Apps with SysCloudSoft, recorded March 27th, 2012. Welcome, everybody, to this show. I am very happy to be having it. I've actually recorded two shows today. The first one was with a student, and unfortunately the audio of that one did not go through as well as it should. So today I did my second show, which was just a interview with VJ from SysCloudSoft. And great show, great product. I am looking forward to it. But before we get into the interview, I want to still talk about some of the pre-show news and what's new in Google. So, some pre-show news. I am still going to encourage all the listeners out there, please go to the Google Weekly Podcast, the google-weekly.net, and click on listeners and post your little Post-it note information on there. We got a few up there already, and I love to see it get built even higher. Okay, the next thing up, you will be seeing a little bit more of edlisten.com. I have it almost up, and I'm going to try and rebrand the show under that. So stay tuned. You can even check it out. It's on edlisten.com. You can go take a look. Next, so what's new in Google? Well, there's been an update to how Google Docs and Google Spreadsheets, Google Docs and Google Presentations do their spell checking. And I'm excited about this. I always found it odd that in the past, Google Docs did not have that good of a spell checker. I always wound up not getting suggestions that I wanted, and I would go to the search, and I found that the search had the better spell checker. So I was doing spell checking using Google Search more so than I was using spell checking even inside Google. So, and I never really understood why until this feature came out. And what this feature does is it actually looks at things contextually. So it's almost more of a grammatical spell checker than it is anything else. So it looks at it contextually. And this actually popped up. I was actually writing something, and I was using the word paste. And I wrote it as past. And it came up misspelled. And I'm looking at that and like, P-A-S-T, that's actually a word. So the fact that it underlined it and knew to underline it, looked at the word contextually and said, this is the wrong word. So I'm very excited about this feature. And I was using the word cut and paste, and I wrote cut and past. And in Google Docs now, that will come up as an error, even though past is a word. So great little feature in both Google Docs and presentations. They also need to start adding it to Google Sites. I was being a little bit, I've noticed that my Google site pages have a tendency to be misspelled. That's not one of my strong points. So people who are listening to Google, who manage Google Sites, please put spell check in there. I really appreciate it and make me look like less of an idiot in front of my students. Okay, the next thing, also speaking of Google Sites, something that it's not necessarily new, but I don't know when they added it. If you go to Google Sites and you add a page and you add a file page, I don't normally use the file page that often just because I try not to upload files constantly. But I noticed that they now have the ability to do links. And those links you can allow, so it can give you ways that you can insert links into Google. You can insert links into Google Sites. You can then organize it into different folders, and you can use now links instead of just files. I always liked using it for the files, but now you can also do it for links. The way I've done this in the past is by going to creating a categorized list, and really for each little topic, so anything that I'd want a separate folder for, I'd actually create a separate page, which worked out nicely, but it's a little harder to move around. With the Google Sites pages, with Google Sites using the file upload function. Boy, I'm getting distracted. Well, I did two things, and you'll see. There is a pace reader that I'm trying to read through, which is going to be one of the apps of the week that is distracting me. And there's a train outside that you can't hear. So I'm getting a little bit distracted. I'm sorry for that. Back to the Google Sites. It is a great way to organize your links, and you can do it all within one page. And without further ado, I want to get into the interview with Vijay Krishna of SysCloudSoft. Welcome. I am here with Vijay Krishna from SysCloudSoft, and he is the CEO and founder. So I'm very happy to have you on the podcast today. And I wanted to talk about your product and how it started and what it does and how it can help educators.
Hi, Vijay. Very happy to be on your show. I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of years back, and he got his Gmail account hacked, and he lost all his contacts and all his email. And worst, the hacker sent an email to all his contacts asking for funds to be transferred, right?
Ouch.
And there was no way in which my friend could recover from that, because Google couldn't help him recover the password quickly enough. And all his friends and family, they were wondering what's wrong with my friend. And that's the point in which I realized that Google Apps users need to protect their data with a backup solution. And that solution had to not only back up, but it also had to restore back the data in case any disaster happens, whatever be the cause. Now there are a couple of reasons why a user would need to back up their data, their Google Apps data, especially educators, right? One is that hackers could attack and take over their valuable assets. The other one is if any user deletes accidentally or deliberately any valuable school records or assignments or projects, right? I mean, you need all that valuable data. So it's this, and Google doesn't protect you from deletions. Once it is gone, it is gone.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Actually, there was a thread going out on the listserv recently where someone installed a third-party app and it started duplicating their documents. But I've also heard the opposite of where it's been disappeared too. So this is important.
That's right.
So, and I was looking at your products, and you have some interesting options. It's a different approach than Postini, isn't it?
That's right. Postini offers backup for email, and they offer it as an online solution. That means Google stores it in their own archives. Our solution, and Postini is a little bit expensive for educators. Our solution has multiple options. You could take a backup of your Google Apps data on-premise on your own computer, and that way you have complete control over your data, right? In case there is a cloud outage or you lose the data in the Google, right, you still have an offline copy.
Is that something my teachers can do on their own if I have bought this for the business?
That's right. They could do it on their own. I mean, it's just a single click, fully automated. Once you set it up, it works. It works forever. It doesn't require any manual intervention.
Oh, nice. Okay, sorry to disrupt you.
Sure.
So you can back up by person, and how does it work for my?
So you can back up the whole organization, the whole school or university. You may have 10 users, 100 users, 1,000 users, 10,000 users. With a single click, you can back up all of them. Our software automatically goes and gets a list of users and presents it to you. You can back up the documents, Gmail, contacts, calendar, and sites, all with a single click for all the users. Or you could pick individual users or individual services to back up. So it's pretty flexible, and it requires a minimal amount of setup and maintenance.
So is this something I just install from the Google Apps Marketplace?
The on-premise one, you would download as a setup file, and you would execute on your system. We also have an online option. The The online option, you can add it to your Google Apps. So we have both the options.
Nice. And the one thing that really impressed me was the fact that you did have the local control option, which I work for another school system who the network administrator is very, very serious about wanting to have full control of all the data and have it locally. So
that's right.
I was really impressed. For me at the school I work for as the IT coordinator, I work for quite a few different schools.
Sure.
I kind of like that, but you also said you guys had another option with using Amazon, right?
That's right. So we have another option where you can run the software on-premise, but if you don't want to store the archives on your local storage for some reason, lack of space, you want to store it on another cloud provider, we have an option to store your archives on Amazon S3, right? So why would you store it on Amazon S3? Amazon S3 is very secure. They store 3 copies of your data in 3 different physical locations, right? And the chances of losing that data is, almost impossible, right? They guarantee 99.999999, right?
Yes.
So that's about 10,000 times more reliable than your hard disk, right? So if you need that kind of reliability for your archives, then we do have the Amazon S3 option as well.
Now, I know Amazon S3 has like a Windows server or a Linux server, and that the Linux servers are much cheaper. Can I purchase the Linux server option, or is there?
In the on-premise option with Amazon S3, right? You're only storing in the S3. You're not actually using their computing resources because so the on-premise one, the software still runs on your machine, right? There is no need to buy the Amazon compute instance. You only use the storage.
Oh, okay.
Because all you care about is storing your archives safely.
And I'm actually new to the Amazon S3. I've heard about it. Is that something you guys would help me set up for my school if that was the option I wanted to go with?
The Amazon S3 is very straightforward. You just have to sign up for an account, and they just give you the username and account name and your secret key. And you just come to our software and just enter those 3 details: your username, your account password, and the secret key, and that's it. So you're pretty much done. It does not require any extra setup.
Okay. So, which actually brings me to cost, though. I'm assuming Amazon S3 has a cost, and you guys have a cost, and it's also different than how I've seen some other services. Like the Postini is either $4 to $8 a user, and you guys charge a little bit differently, don't you?
That's right. So we have multiple options, right? So we realize that education institutions and governments are always strapped for funds. And not only that, they have thousands of users, right? So there's no way an educational institution can afford an online backup like Postini or any other online offering, because there you have to pay, tens of thousands of dollars every month, which is ruled out, right, for an education institution. So keeping that in mind, we offer an on-premise solution for schools, where they can run the program on their computer, store it on their own disk, right? They can save tons of money that way, right? They just need to pay us a one-time cost for the software. Mm-hmm. And, I can discuss the cost of that, and we do have a discount program for schools. The other option is for schools with a little bit more budget room, and they don't want to store the archives on their local disk, they can store it in the Amazon S3 option, right? Yep. So we do have both the options for schools.
Yeah, and the Amazon S3 would be the $499 plus the S3 cost, right?
That's right.
Yeah. That's right. And you also have your on-premise costs, so if you want to just completely store with you, that's also an option.
That's also an option. That's right.
And
so our online option costs about close to $3 per user per month, right? So if any institution, organization has the funds, right, that's the easiest thing to do, right?
And that includes, I know Postini is just email, and you're talking about docs, calendars, sites, the whole caboodle.
That's right.
How about retrieving how about retrieving your documents? How does that work?
So you once you archive your documents, right? So you can log into the user interface with your admin login, And then you will be able to, you have multiple options. You can go view any user's documents. Once you view the user's documents, you have an option to download it. You can download the single document, multiple documents, or you can download all the documents. That's one option you have. The other option that you have is you can restore the documents back to the Google account in case they got deleted for some reason. And we also have a third option. The third option is we allow, which is very unique, we allow you to archive multiple revisions of the document, right? So if you made some changes to your document, you don't like it, and you want to go back to the previous revision, we allow you to do that.
So you keep the revision history also.
That's right.
Nice. Now, I was just thinking about this. This really works out nicely. Another way for me to use it. Right now, I have no way to spot check what students have. Using, I guess, your retrieval process or the same process where I can view the document, could I technically view a student's document? I'm thinking just like in a bullying instance or something like that, where I need to actually look at something to see what he has in his document list.
Absolutely. You could search also. And you can even search for certain words if you want. You can see high level all the list of documents that they have. Yes, you can do that. As long as your school policy allows you to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're moving into policy issue and onto that one. I know. How about does the same thing go for email?
That's right. So same thing goes for email too. You could view any users archives, email archives. You could search. And you could retrieve a single email, you could restore it, you could download it. And you could download it to your local email client as well, to Outlook or to Thunderbird.
So this solves a lot of the really high-level security issues that schools have been fighting with this one, and keeps those lawyers happy.
Right.
And one last thing, can I see who the document is shared with? So does it keep the share settings when it does the restore?
Yes. That's right. It does do that.
Nice. I'm loving this already, so I'm going to have to pitch it to my school.
Great. Thank you.
The next thing, we had a question come up on the listserv about employees that have left and what to do with their data. And I know Google Docs has a migration tool, and you also have, and that's pretty much internally. But also I know a lot of schools set up their domains. They set up their schools with multiple domains before Google had their, before they had the organizations within it. And so there's a lot of schools out there with these the teacher domain and the student domain and the admin domain.
Right.
You guys have a tool that can help out with that, right?
That's right. So we introduced a new tool, and that's currently listed in the Google Marketplace, Top New Apps, which allows organizations to move from domain to domain, to either to consolidate or when they are migrating from one domain to the other. If administrators do it manually, it could take weeks to do it, right? So with our tool, with a single click, an administrator can migrate any number of users, any number of services. This is available only as an online option because migration is something that you would do as a one-time process.
Okay, is that the domain migration that you guys are listing, or is that a different tool?
This is the domain migration.
Okay, it is the domain migration. So that is something that I can find in the Google Apps Marketplace.
That's right.
And I will put that in the show notes when we do that. And the one last thing that makes this solution just the ultimate backup solution is you guys also have a Windows backup solution too.
That's right. So we in our company, we have two families of products. One is the Google Apps products, and we also have a Windows solution. The Windows solution is very unique in that it takes backup up to the bare metal, right? So it backs up your operating system, your application, your data, everything, right? So in case some disaster, you lost a file, you lost a volume, or you even lost the whole system, right? You're unable to boot up. We could recover and restore your complete system to its last point in time that you want. So, but that's a separate separate product line that we have.
So I can use you for both my Windows backup and my cloud-based backup. Now, the Windows backup, can that back up to the Amazon S3 also if I chose that option?
Not right now, because the Windows backup is primarily right now meant only for within the organization. Because we are backing up the complete system, right? So there could be a very huge amount of data, and it may not be cost effective to move it to the cloud.
Okay, I'll be interested in knowing about that option because right now, what I'm using for my Windows side of the backup is just file server, and it synchronizes with another cloud service that I use. So I just get the change in files. But I also ran into a problem with the company, and I'm looking for a different solution.
Sure.
So
I'll be happy to tell you.
But okay, well, you gave a great overview of the product. I'm looking forward to pitching this to my teachers. And what's the best way to get a hold of you guys?
You can log into our website www.SysCloudSoft.com, SysCloudSoft.com. You could check out our products there. You could send us an email at support@SysCloudSoft.com, SysCloudSoft.com. And our products are also available in Google Marketplace. You can search for our migration products with the keyword migration. We are listed in the top 4. And you could also find us in the first page of Google Marketplace under the top new apps. We also have some great reviews from Google Apps educators who have used our software. You can read them in our SysCloudSoft backup for Google Apps software edition in the marketplace. So there are different ways in which you can learn more about our company and contact us.
Well, I'm very glad that you put this together. And when did you start this project?
This was about 2 years ago.
So this has been a project in 2 years in the making, and came up with how many clients do you have now?
We have several hundred clients right now, and there are several major OEM.
Well, I think your name always comes up when we're talking about archiving and alternatives to Postini, and I'm glad to see that there is some alternatives. So thank you very much for creating the product. And I think it looks very, very well built and exactly what we need.
Thank you, BJ. I appreciate your inquiring, and thanks for your time.
And hey, thank you for coming onto the show. That's a big help, and I'm sure my listeners will love to hear more, love to look at this.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time today.
Okay, that was a great interview. I was very happy to have him on the show, and thank you very much for coming on. Next on the list is the app exploration part of the podcast. I've noticed in my previous podcast, I always seem to say the app exploration part of the website. No, it's the app exploration part of the podcast. And the first one is the marketplace. Again, this is for the administrators only. And I found something called desk.com. And this is a social help desk, and it looks to be free for full-time agents, then $1 per hour, or $50 a month for some other additional agents. Not exactly sure how it works, but what impressed me is that I went into the reviews, and worth the money. Great lot of very positive reviews from valued users, as 47 reviews. And they're actually, I'm looking at this. I either get the no stars or 5-star with this one. There's like no middle ground. So you either love it or hate it. And this is desk.com social network. And it looks like a customer service to support customers via web, Facebook, Twitter, chat. You can adapt your social media to support on demand. So it looks like a really new way of looking at providing help desk support. And I'll put the link to that into the show notes. The next one is one that I used actually for this interview, and this is going to be World Time Buddy. And World Time Buddy is a Chrome app, and this is a really, really nice app. And like I said, I use this all the time, especially for the podcast. If you're someone that has to deal with people in multiple time zones and scheduling within multiple time zones, this is a little must. So you can put in a city, your city and the other person's city, and it's just a little slider that you move around, and it tells you what time it is. For this interview, I did notice one little catch-22 to it, and that would be daylight savings time. Originally, when I looked up this interview and scheduled a time for it, it was before the daylight savings times change in Vermont. And then when we went to go do the interview, we realized that we were an hour off of each other. And so luckily we caught that, and we were able to still work at a time that we could record the podcast. So, but that's World Time Buddy, and I think World Time Buddy does take an account for it if I moved it to look at the specific day, which I didn't. I just kind of looked at the time. So great little app, and you can find that in the Chrome Web Store or by going straight to the worldtimebuddy.com website. And the last thing is going to be the Google Play Android app of the week. And this is the one that's going to screw me up because I'm sitting here looking at a Pace, and this is called Pace Recorder. What this little app does is it will actually record your speech, and it'll also tell you if you're going too fast or too slow or how long you've been talking. And noticing from this one, I am bouncing between the regular pace to too fast during my podcast. And then I'm almost going to suggest you not to have this up. It's a cool little app. I like it. It really can give you some indications, but I keep looking down and getting distracted. So as long as you can get used to this and not get distracted, it's a cool little app. And I was letting my daughter play with this earlier last night, and it's something you can actually just do simple recordings to. So it gives you not only the pace, but it also allows you to do a recording to your phone. Again, it's a backup. And that is the Pace Recorder and the Google Play Marketplace for an Android app. And that's going to close the show. So thank you for listening to the Google Weekly Podcast with your host, Bjorn Behrendt. You can follow the podcast and contribute by going to www.google-weekly.net. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. And I encourage you to get the conversation going around the show by posting comments to the blog posts or using the hashtag GWPodcast within your social network. Again, thank you for listening, and never stop learning.
This is Torrance, and thank you for listening.